Everybody out there, glad that y'all are here today, out in TV land or computer land or whatever we call it today. We are getting ready to get started. We're just waiting to see if a couple more people are coming. So we'll start in about 1 minute. And I'm talking to absolutely no one. So that's great. So, because you're all here. Is that right? All the important people. Oh, we got somebody. There we go. Good morning. I keep looking down because I'm used to my computer thing. So sorry about that. Okay, it's kind of weird. I'm still doing it. All right. It'll be okay in a second. Do what? It's not the first time. Not the first time. I wish I could say it was. An old friend of mine wanted to bring him to church. Bring him to church day, right? Okay, we're about to get started. Let me just over there. There we are. Come on, there we go. It's if y'all remember doing this, it's a lot of fun because it's the opposite. I'm on two screens, so I have to look at that, sit there, and get around. So it's always fun. Wow, we went from 0 to 1 to 7. So now I can talk to. So everybody that's out there, welcome. Glad y'all are here today for our show. You like that? Me and my friend are going to do a show here. But the story of Satan. And so let's go ahead and get started. All right. So the first question I have, Jonathan, it's not doing that one thing. I got, hey, good looking. We know who that is. Good morning, Karen. That's okay. So the first, okay, my only thing is, can y'all see on there? Is it actually big? Can people see it on? I don't know if they can see it online. Can you guys see my screen behind me, or is it coming up online for you? Put the link on Facebook. I thought I did. Hold on, Sally. Thank you for telling me. I thought we took care of that. I'll tell you what. You try to get something going, and Satan will tear it down. Satan. You can see the full screen? Oh, but you see me too. Okay. But they can't see the full screen, can they? That's what I'm worried about.
So that's what they can see.
Okay.
And then you can, if you want to change it, like you want to make yourself smaller, you could do that.
All right. Yeah, let's do that. That way, because I just want them to be able to see.
Yeah.
On there. Okay. And is there a way to put the link on Facebook? I thought I did, but
it is on Facebook.
It is. Oh, it is. Okay, it is on Facebook. And the video ended, according to Sheila. Jonathan, Sheila Clark just said the video ended.
It's still going. It's still going.
Okay, Sheila, we have that it's still going. There is no video, so it's just me.
Wow, whatever are you watching, Sheila?
Yeah. The devil's got you watching. All right, so I will, anyway, I hope it's okay. Now we're 5 minutes in. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. All right, I got a thumbs up. Okay, we're going to start going live for here on, so please come on into the church when we're doing this. All right, so my first question to, hold on. Let me just go back. See, I'm all confused now. Anyway, I'm really actually excited. I've been talking about doing this class for quite a while and presenting this. And so we'll be doing this over the next couple of weeks. The problem about when you're writing this out, you don't know how long it's going to last, but that's okay. We'll keep moving. But I've been wanting to do the story of Satan because it is actually in the Christian church one of the biggest subjects that people seem to be interested in. If you don't believe me, look around you. A lot of people here today, right? And we got 7 people online, and it's not for this face, I can promise you, but it's the subject, and it does. People are drawn to the story of Satan, hell, brimstone, fire. Sometimes I think it's curiosity, just wondering what would happen, the next life, or with Satan as on the earth, what does that look like? It can be fear. Fear is another piece. It can be just fascinating to people. The old joke is that, you can talk about hell and damnation and you can pack a church, but you talk about Jesus' love and it's crickets. If you notice that, because we have this in secret something of wanting to just know more and more. We've seen this throughout the Christian history when the church does talk about Satan, hell, damnation, we come to hear it. And again, we can see it around. And I'm not joking with you. It's just a fascination that we as people have, especially Christians. The Catholic Church learned this a long time ago in the Black Plague. When the Black Plague came, they started talking about, look what's happened. And people even had the question, what have we done to God? Why is this happening to us? They go to the church to get answers, and they discovered to start talking about it, and people packed it. So it wasn't your fundamental Baptist that you may talk about sometimes. It was actually the Catholic Church in the Black Plague. But we know that this does happen, not necessarily Satan, but fear can bring us into wanting to hear answers in the church. And so when we hear, what have we done, or why has this happened to us, we think of, Satan or bad or evil. And so we come and to listen. Today, 21 years ago, I can't believe it's been this long. First, it's my baby's birthday, my middle baby's birthday, Peyton. But also 9/11. I was in Washington, D.C., as you know, and I was by the Pentagon when all of this, I knew about New York, but I didn't know Washington was about to be, anyway, that's just another story. But that night, I went back to the church, and the priest there wanted to have a service immediately because the majority of our congregation were military. Many of them were from Quantico. And so where we had normal, Sunday services, and we had the place, this place was packed. And it was packed for about 4 weeks after 9/11. We had to get chairs out of the attic that hadn't been out in years and blown the dust off and bring it. But we come when this happens, when evil hits, we cling to God. But also when we want to hear about brimstone and all that, it gives us fear, and we can be in the churches and pack them as well. So anyway, so we look at questions. So I want to look at questions throughout my class here. Okay, and so what we're going to look at hopefully in the next couple of weeks is, who is Satan? What are the names of Satan? Historical developments of Satan. When did Satan get his start? What does the Hebrew Testament say about Satan? What does the New Testament say? What role did Christianity play in the story of Satan? We're going to talk about Satan and hell, and what does Satan look like? And these are just some of the questions. So we want to talk about what he looks like and the development of all of that. And so we're going to begin with our first slide here. And who is, or what is Satan to us? So in just a couple of words, if you'd like to, raise your hand or shout. When we think of Satan, and you don't have to be embarrassed by it because people think about it, right? What comes to mind? Evil, okay. Evil, okay. The destroyer, okay. Temptation, yes. Liar, there you go.
Everything God isn't.
Everything God isn't. Yeah, Michael.
Chaos.
Okay. Anybody else? False promises, right. Anybody else? I think a sin. Go ahead, what?
He's your constant companion.
Constant companion. Never picks up the check for lunch. So. All right. Well, then let's. Now I don't have, there it is. I really meant to bring it. Okay, so you shared your thoughts, that's good. So we think about things like fear. Fear is another one that we can think about Satan. Satan loves to put that fear in, right? We think about that are you sure that's what you want to do? Oh, come on. You know, are you sure that this way or that, our fear of something else? You know, you go to do something, even in ministry sometimes. Are you sure you want to do this? All right, what happens if it fails? These things can be said. So, go to church. We see this. How many have been in or grown up in a fundamental church of some kind? How many of y'all have? Okay, quite a few of us, right? Ever heard of Satan in those churches? Right? It must be the poster boy sometimes. I hate to say that. I mean, and I'm not talking about not all fundamental churches by any means, but I'm just saying it's used a lot. Even as you know, I'm a chaplain in the military, and some of my chaplains that come from more fundamental issues, this seems to be a topic a lot, is about Satan and fear. So go to church or the devil will get you. So even the church is using fear as a tactic to come in, right? So showing frustration about something or someone, all right? Do you remember this episode? It's her boyfriend was at a hockey thing and would wear the mask and or paint his face, and she couldn't stand it. She really liked him. He's good looking to her, but yet he paints his face, and she can't stand it. And she's finally frustrated, and she's like, blah, 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 if you remember the thing. And she's like, he does this and that, and showing Satan. So we can do that. Good old Elaine. We know he's a soul taker, right? We hear about that. He's out to get your soul. He's out to get you. We know that he was down in Georgia, right? I've read it somewhere or heard it somewhere. Went down, right? And he's there to make a bet down. I thought that was a cool statue. A tool for people we don't like. Like sometimes we can push about that person's evil, or I think Satan's behind them, or they're satanic, and I've actually heard these things. I mean, I bet some of you have too. They're not a person of God. I mean, so you don't have to say Satan itself, or they're a pagan, or and there's lots of different words that we can put on somebody because we just don't like them. This came from the Water Boy. She's the devil, Bobby. Everything, by the way, if you haven't seen the movie, everything's the devil to this lady. Everything, so. Yep. Scapegoat, right? Now, this is a generational thing. Some of you know who it is. Some of you may not, but it's a generational. The devil made me do it, right? So, Satan can be a scapegoat to us. Blaming Satan for what I do. I did something, and it was Satan who made me do this. I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I just got pushed into it, and I finally did it. Like the donuts this morning. Donuts are from God, sir. Is that what it is? And so I put this in. I thought it was funny when I was looking up pictures. It's Satan in there reading the Holy Bible. Bit harsh, he says. So let's start with a question because I thought, well, first of all, I thought this was very interesting. A bit harsh because we all just said some things we think about Satan. And I just showed you some examples too. And I think most of y'all would agree with everything I just showed you. This is where Satan is. Was it always like that? Why not? Right? Then what happened? Where did Satan get a promotion or something? What happened? And that's what I really want to show. I want to show through the next couple of weeks the development of Satan as we go through the Bible. Okay? So let's get started. Who is Satan in the Bible? So that's what I'm going to be talking about, like I said, for the next couple of weeks. Who Satan is, the development of Satan, etc. So let me go back here. Sorry. I meant to bring, oh, come on. He hasn't come on. Yeah. And here he is, folks. It was a little late, but that's okay. He's coming. So, who is Satan? We just answered the questions that we had. Now, you couldn't have walked in at a better time. I'll give you your $10 right after the service. But who is Satan? Again, we just answered some of what it means to us. But I want us to see again how Satan develops throughout the Bible first. I want to show the roles that Satan took. From the Old Testament to the New Testament, we can watch Satan develop into our understanding of who Satan is today. This, of course, is influenced also by the words of Jesus, and we're going to see that where Jesus had a role in this as well. And I want to give you this background so when we start to read about it, you're starting to understand. But it took centuries, actually, for this Satan to develop into the various characters of the devil that we know today, who makes only, only ironically, makes only scattered appearances through the Bible. There's not a whole lot about Satan, believe it or not, and yet we are so fascinated with this person. But if you think about it, you go through the Bible, there's very scattered information about him. Okay? And we're going to see that. So first, I want to talk about is the, you know what, I'm just going to put this. I'm so sorry, guys. I think after another here. Satan, stop. Is the name of Satan. Okay? So let's talk about Satan. So what are the names of Satan? Can y'all give me some? Okay. I'm sorry? Lucifer. The evil one.
Mephistopheles one, too.
Do what?
Mephistopheles, that one.
Okay. Morning star. I know. There's a few of them. They're like chewy talk. You said liar, right? That's one. What else? The enemy, the destroyer. Okay, well, look at all the names of the devil. Okay, he's got a lot. I know it may be hard to see. The accuser, adversary, ancient serpent, devil, dragon, enemy, evil one, God of this world, liar, murderer, prince of demons, prince of the power of the air, roaring lion, ruler of this world, Satan, and tempter. Wow. And I'm going to tell you, there's actually more than that. Okay? That's just, I just want to give you kind of a brief of that. And where do we get it? Look at all, this is the different places in the Bible that it briefly talks about. Okay? And you'll notice most of them are in the New Testament. And we're going to go there with it. So, the historical development of Satan. In the dictionary of the Bible, Father John McKenzie explains that the Hebrew word Satan, accuser, is what that means, the accuser, became an individual's name only late in the Hebrew scriptures. It came in late. The term's basic meaning, diablos, right, like Greek, is an accuser. So it's an accuser in the court of law. Okay, so it looks like he's this accuser in the court of law. It can also mean military or political adversary. Okay, that same word. And so we'll see that a little bit later, won't we, in the New Testament. Satan did not step suddenly from the shadows. He found his way into the part and matured into his role. So he wasn't the little red guy, at the very beginning. Until it develops over time. So, I'm sorry. The Satan or devil is one of the best known characters. Let me get this too. I want to just put that up for right now. So where did he get his start? The Satan or the devil is one of the best known characters in the Western tradition of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Surprisingly, the entity was a latecomer in the ancient world. Satan is totally evil, is nowhere to be found in the Jewish Bible. Okay, so he's not this evil person that we think of today in the Jewish Bible. So how did he develop with the Jewish people? Well, he evolved during the height of the Persian Empire, beginning around 550 BC, and was adopted by Jews living under Persian rule at the time. Now, this is a basic course that I'm teaching, so I'm not going to go into the details. I would like you to read more about that. But they were influenced by the Persians and talking about this underworld or this enemy. And the reason I have this up here is because when they were with the Persians and influence, it's right around here. Okay, so you see here's the Genesis and Exodus and Judge. Okay, you see how it's going through time, but here's where we're talking about in Babylon, and then they start returning back to Jerusalem. All right, and so somewhere over here it says Job. Job, it was right around in this time too. Okay, and we're going to see later. Like I said, I want to kind of give you a background as we get into it. So his formal name Satan derives again from Hebrew ha-Satan. Okay, and ha actually means the Satan. All right, and so ha means the opposer or the adversary. The name describes his eventual function as the opposer of God's creation. The concept of Satan emerged over time, again, in phases. So, again, I wanted to show you this. So, in the Hebrew Bible, we do find the word Satan in these early biblical books, but they do not refer to him as a demon. Okay, so we will see a little bit about Satan, but we don't see him as the demon we know him today. Rather, Satan is just a proper noun denoting an adversary in the judicial setting. Okay, so again, like in the court. For example, a foreign king opposing a king of Israel was said to be the Satan. So their enemy that would come after, that's what they would call them, is they are the Satan. Do we hear that today? Yeah, right? We have foreign countries that call us here in the United States the Satan or the great Satan. Okay? So that's so it comes back from this time, ha-Satan, all right, or the Satan. Early Second Temple period, which I was showing you earlier, right? And this is between 530 and 450 BC. By the time of the book of Job was conceived, apparently in the Second Temple period, around 2,500 years ago, we can see a slight movement towards the development of Satan as being evil. But he isn't the Satan that we know him today. He's got some issues. We start to see him develop in it in Job, but he's not quite where we know him today. Christianity. In the New Testament, we learn more about Satan. Jesus speaks of him. I saw Jesus fall like lightning, right, from heaven. And so we hear him speak of Satan. Jesus has encounters with him. The writers go back to the Hebrew Testament to clarify in their writings of what Jesus is saying, and then clarifying, going back to some of the stories of why they're talking about Satan the way he is today. The New Testament writers influenced many of the church fathers, which we'll see later on, what they had a few things to say about Satan as well as writers in the Middle Age who created the modern Satan that we know today. So it's really in the Middle Ages where we start to see Satan become who he is today, what he looks like, more about his evilness, and we'll talk about that in detail. But I want to give you an overall view of what that looked like, that how Satan has developed from earlier until Christianity and times to the Middle Ages. So, did somebody have a question? Yes.
In the story of Jesus' temptation, gives the impression that Satan is the ruler of the world. He said, my part, you follow me, you can have it. Where's the darkness?
Yep. Well, we're going to talk about it. No, that's coming. This is just the brief review. We're going to come to that, but you're absolutely right. And so this is where we start to see the Christian writers and things that happen with Jesus come to light, in which we now make him who he is today. So Satan, so how did he become Satan? Let me just make sure I'm on mic because I can't see that. All right. Hold on. Unfortunately, I can't see what is the next thing. Anyway, Satan in the Bible. First is the creation. So when did Satan come about? Right? When did all of this happen? When and so we know that Satan first is. We know that he's part of the creation, right? He's part of the creation, and so Satan isn't a bad person yet because what does God say? He saw that all was good. Okay, all is good right now, and so we know that Satan is there. So when God created the world, we are told that God examined it and declared that it was good. Genesis 1:31. You can read it. It's really there somewhere. I'm just kidding. This means that even the angelic world did not have evil angels or demons in it at that time. The fall of Satan. So this is we hear this from Jesus, right? We know that there's this fall, and we're going to show you where Jesus got that. But the fall of Satan. So the beginning of evil, or when Satan falls, in Genesis chapter 3, we find Satan in the form of a serpent. At least we have him like that. There are Jewish people, and in the early Jewish time, did not believe that this is Satan. Okay, but this has become later, and in Christianity, it is. This is Satan. So this is what I'm talking about. Writers going back and looking and saying, "Oh, you know what?" And there he is. There, right? And so, like I said, in chapter 3, we find Satan in the form of a serpent was tempting. Now he's a tempter. Eve to sin. Therefore, sometime between the events of Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 3, there must have been a rebellion in the angelic world, and many angels turned against God and becoming evil. This rebellion was led by Satan himself. And so we see this great picture of him falling, and again, Jesus also replies, "I saw Satan fall like lightning." Okay, so we have both these. So the Bible gives us information about the devil before his fall. His name was Lucifer, which means the star of the morning, right? It can be the morning star. It can be the holder of light or of the morning. And so we have Lucifer involved. He held a high-ranking position that we know with the angelic host. He had great beauty and great wisdom, given a position of great power and influence, and he's called the guardian of cherub. Okay, so where we see this, so we're going in the Bible now, is Ezekiel. All right, this is where we first start to see this. And so in Ezekiel, Ezekiel has an oracle. And so he's reading the oracle, but it's actually against the prince of Tyre. Okay, and so it's against the prince, but as they look later, as he's doing this, he's talking about something bigger here. And when you hear what he has to say about the prince, you'll realize he's talking about somebody much bigger. So in the Old Testament, the prophet Ezekiel takes up an oracle against the human ruler of Tyre, an arrogant person, smug enough to claim to be a god himself. God plans to bring this prince down a notch. But while Ezekiel preaches against this ruler, he seems to make several allusions to a similar story on the cosmic scale. In fact, the prophet says a few things that point all the way back to the Garden of Eden. You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. You were appointed as the garden cherub, for so I ordained you. You were on the holy mount of God. You talked among the fiery stones. Later in the oracle, Ezekiel tells us that this being had a pride problem similar to the prince of Tyre. Your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. And so I could read down of this, but I would like to break this down a little bit, okay? So when he's talking about Satan, One of the things is we have him today as this red horn guy, right? And ugly looking, but that's not how it's described in the Bible. He's actually very good looking. He is very wise, good looking, wise person. We know that, as a matter of fact, in going deeper into it, and I would look, if y'all would like tonight to look at Ezekiel 28, by the way, Ezekiel 28, 12 through 13, you will see all about it. It actually talks about his jewels and his gold and his great looks, etc. And so as you go down, it says, through your widespread trade, you were filled with violence and you sinned. So I drove you in disgrace from the mount of God, and I expelled you, O guardian cherub, from among the fiery stones. Your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. So I threw you to earth. I made a spectacle of you before kings. Wow, God was mad. So he's talking about this prince and saying, and guess who you're like? Because obviously this prince wasn't in Eden, right? I mean, so this is where you're seeing the connection. He was the model of perfection, full of wisdom and pure, perfect in beauty. We do know he was in the garden of God, and this is where we first start to hear about him being there, with the clothing adored with every precious stone, like I was just talking about, all the beautifully crafted specifically for him, and set in the finest gold. He was ordained, it says, and ordained and anointed by God as the mighty heavenly angelic guardian. He's a leader. He's a leader among them. He had access, it says, to the mountain of God. He was blameless in everything he did from the day he was created until the day that unrighteousness was found in him. His heart was proud because of his beauty, and he corrupted his wisdom for the sake of his splendor, according to Ezekiel. That's a pretty big ego, isn't it? Like, wow. And here is what I told you. If you want to read Ezekiel 12, I've already read this to you. Now, I will say that a piece of this, I was trying to look it up and I couldn't find it in time, but it was talking about Satan being thrown into the earth, into the dust, into the dirt itself. And where else do we hear that curse? In Genesis, right? In Genesis, the snake, right? And you will now be on your belly and you will eat dust, right? And it's the same thing we're hearing on this piece here of both of them being cursed. So Satan has been cursed by being thrown into the dirt, and the snake, same thing, goes to eat dust. Okay. So then we have next the and so there's just a piece. Okay, and so now we're going to talk about another piece in the Old Testament, or the Hebrew Testament, is Isaiah. Isaiah does the same thing. In the book of Isaiah, we see Satan as a fallen angel. And so I just want to put this: how are you fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How are you cut down to the ground, which did waken the nations? And so Isaiah is doing so. All right, let me back up. There are 5 I will statements in the passage below, revealing Satan's pride, arrogance, and the desire to sit on the throne higher than God. Lucifer's sin got him thrown out of Satan. We just talked about that. Isaiah's parable is also against the king of Babylon. So again, he's kind of doing the same thing as Ezekiel. He's going after the king, but guess what? I'm going to compare you to somebody else. And so, again, a huge insult. The prophet Isaiah compares the arrogant king of Babylon to a particularly ambitious divine being who has fallen from heaven. And this is Isaiah 14, if y'all want to look it up tonight. Isaiah 14:12. How you have fallen from heaven, O star of the morning, Lucifer, son of the dawn. You have been cut down to earth, you who have weakened the nations. But you said in your heart, talking about Lucifer, okay? You have said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of assembly in the recess of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself above the Most High. Now that's an ego, a real ego problem. And so we see this in Isaiah. So now you're starting to see where the New Testament, or the later Hebrew Testament, is starting to see him as becoming this evil person, now coming against God. Now you can see where in the New Testament the writers are starting to see this and seeing this oracle and this prophet speaking about Satan or about Lucifer, and starting to understand, along with Jesus and some of the things he has said, of who Satan really is. We are at 10:10. How close do you think we are? Let's see. You think we need to cut yet? A few more minutes? All right, yeah, let's go with the New Testament. Let me give you a little bit of that, okay? The New Testament also gives us a more details about the fall. We know more about Satan in the New Testament by far than the Hebrew Testament. It states that Lucifer led an unsuccessful revolt in the heavens. Where did they get that? We just read it, didn't we? He and his followers were cast out. In Revelation 12:7-9, we read, when war broke out in heaven, Michael and his angels battled against the dragon. The dragon and his angels fought back, but they did not prevail, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. The huge dragon, the ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, who deceived the whole world, was thrown down into the earth, and its angels were thrown down with him. Lucifer, the morning star, becomes Satan, the accuser, when he falls to the earth. Jesus speaking of the event, again, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven in Luke 10. So the New Testament is giving you even more details about what happened in that particular battle between Satan and God, and Satan's little hellions, right, that did part of that with him. And so that's where they're seeing it from. Is everybody following along pretty well? Okay, I'm going to ask for questions here in a second. I'm going to end it with Lucifer's followers, since we're talking about the fall, okay? When Satan fell, he did not fall alone. Scripture tells us that he took 1/3 of the angels, Revelation 12, considering that the angelic host numbers more than 10,000 times 10,000, according to Revelation 5:11. That's a sizable group. The account for the falling angels are demons that now is doing his bidding here on earth. As a result, Satan is fallen, but powerful. His spirit being with a well-organized network of demon powers to help him accomplish his purpose. Those purposes, according to Jesus, are to steal, kill, and destroy. That's the bad news. But the good news is 2/3 of the angels are still on our side. As the prophet Elijah said to his servant, do not be afraid. Have we ever heard that before? Do not be afraid. Those who are with us are more than those who are against us, in 2 Kings. As Christians, we have an even greater asset than the majority of angels on our side. Jesus Christ, who conquered Satan at the cross of Calvary, is also on our side. So when we worry and we have this fear, even they're saying at that time, do not be afraid. Because, yes, as you were saying, Satan on the world, right? And it'll talk about Satan owning the world, Satan owning the precious jewels and the stones and all of that. Well, guess what? We still have Jesus Christ, and there's 2/3 of the angels that are with him and with us. So that's a good one. I'm going to stop there, and we'll talk about more next week. Any questions? Was that understandable? Okay, good. I was really worried to make sure that it was. So like I said, I'm giving you kind of a background, deeper background of him as we talk about him in there. So anyway, next week we are going to talk more about Satan, the devil. We'll talk about the devil and hell next week. What does the devil look like? We'll talk about him a little bit more in the New Testament. So anyway, hope you come back. Don't let Satan stop you. All right, guys, we're getting ready for worship the Lord. And so thank you all for being here today. I appreciate it, and blessings. Bye. Oh, come on.
Rick Steve, they got in there, they said some ancient old churches in England, and they said some of them, they said they had a statue of St. Michael in the entrance. They said
Yeah.
it usually indicated that it was built on a pagan site. I guess the St. Michael was one that's supposed to.
Hold on. We're still live. Hold on 1 second. It won't let me end it. Hey. Come on. Why won't you let me? If you're still on here, I'm trying to end the stream, but it won't let my cursor go up to end stream. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.